You're on.
All right. Good morning and welcome back to EdTech in the Bend. We are talking today with Indiana education rock stars, and we have a rock star here, Mr. Kyle Kline. So we'd like to thank our biggest sponsor, South Bend Community Schools, for helping us make this happen. And we hope you've enjoyed your week and that you'll keep going with us after this is over. And so now I'd like to turn it over to Seth to introduce Mr. Kline.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to some Mathsmashing with Kyle. Some people get us confused. Wait, he's over here. We're both Boilermakers. Yep. We both have wives that are smarter than us.
Yep.
And we both like to have a good time. So without further ado, I'm excited to learn some Mathsmashing with my buddy Kyle. Here we go.
Sounds good. Hey, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining today. I'm pretty pumped about being a part of EdTech in the Bend. It's been a tremendous conference all week. It's amazing how many people are still coming in, still registering and want to be a part of the conference. I think the EdTech in the Bend team has done a wonderful job. And since I've been playing a lot of golf lately, I want to give you a golf clap for that. So great job, everybody.
Hey, I'm going to jump on real quick, and we've got 2 more spots. People can still register. I mean, we'll invite everybody, but 2 more, and we hit 800. So
I can make 2 email addresses. Me too.
I'll jump off stage. That's what I'll do.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to try to share my screen. See how this works. It's easiest with 2 monitors. Well, I don't have 2 monitors, unfortunately. Okay, there we are. I love the inception effect here when it's on your screen and keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. So, all right, so let's go over here. Let's get started with Mathsmashing. There is a link in the chat. There's also this wonderful link right here. So here's the presentation. So this is called Mathsmashing with G Suite. A lot of times people like to call it app smashing, and they combine a couple of different tools together to create a fun and exciting activity. We are going to combine websites and Google today to have a blast with math, because, I mean, if you think about all the different subjects out there, which subject is the most fun? Definitely math. So let's get started here. So Plato said that math was the least techiest of all disciplines. He was not correct, because he said in 1987. Nobody thinks that's a true statement, so I might have to double check Wikipedia. But it is true, and a lot of points where math is just one of the most traditional type subjects, and it's just hasn't been because there's not stuff out there for teachers to use. A lot of it comes down to professional development, but it also comes down to, okay, what is the most effective way to have our students playing with math? So the first tool I'm going to go over is called Equatio. And for those teachers that are out there that are, or math educators that are in the trenches and they're working with Google tools, and in the past they've had to use Microsoft and they love the equation editor. Well, Equatio is what can be added when you are using Google. So I'm going to show this short little clip. If I can find my mouse here. This is a short little video about introducing Equatio and some of the powers it can do. Oh, that didn't work out. Come on. And play. There we go.
In today's classrooms, students are more likely to pick up their devices rather than a pen and paper to complete an assignment. But what about math and STEM subjects? Have they been left behind in today's interactive, collaborative world? Teachers and students still rely on classroom whiteboards and physical handouts to do their work. That's because writing math expressions digitally has always been hard, until now. At TextHelp, we break down barriers to more effective teaching and learning for students at all levels, and now across all subjects. And we finally made digital math super simple with Equatio. Made to help mathematics and STEM teachers and students at all levels, Equatio lets everyone create mathematical equations, formulas, and more directly on their computer. Simply type or handwrite any expression on your keyboard or touchscreen, and Equatio will convert it into accurate digital math. Then add it to Microsoft Word or G Suite apps with a click. Not sure what expression to use? Equatio can help, instantly turning your thoughts into clear on-screen formulas. And it listens, too. When you dictate a formula aloud, Equatio is smart enough to ignore any ums, ers, and other non-math words. V equals pi r squared h. Using Equatio MathSpace, our friendly web app, students can complement their math with sketches, diagrams, and other annotations. It's great for showing their thinking, just like they would on a worksheet. Students can then share their work instantly with their teachers or other students for increased feedback and collaboration, letting everyone make math together like never before. Much more than a replacement for pen and paper, Equatio makes math and other STEM subjects more engaging and rewarding for every student. Try Equatio today and make math digital in your classroom.
Okie doke. So that is always a nice little intro to Equatio. It is a Chrome extension, and so I will show you where it's at here in a moment. But what it allows you to do is allows you to do different types of equations, fractions. You can also do inequalities, which is sometimes difficult for teachers. There are graphs from the embedded Desmos graphing calculator, one of my favorite tools ever. There's also the handwriting recognition that you saw, and then also the speech input. And if you are a math teacher, or if you work with math teachers, make sure you check out Equatio on Facebook. They have a tremendous group there, and they have usually I think it's Math Mondays, where they will have different webinars where you can learn about how to use math, Equatio with math and everything. So I'm going to give you a little demonstration of how it works. So you can click on this link right here. This will take you to being able to add Equatio to your Chrome browser. So if I zoom in, it's this little icon right here. It's a blue icon. So I'm going to click on that. What should happen on the bottom of your either slides, docs, or forms, it should pop up with the toolbar on the bottom. So I'm going to click it one more time. My computer is a little slow today, so let's see if we can do this one more time. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. Oh, and then it went away. Okay, here we go. One more time. Maybe I should have done that restart that Seth suggested. So what we have here now finally is on the bottom, we have our toolbar. So if I click on the first one, this is our equation editor. If you are still into LaTeX coding, you can do that. We have a graph. We have handwriting recognition, speech, and there's some other tools I'm not going to really dig into because these are the premium features, and I want to make sure we go over the simple ones here. So if I want to type in an equation, y equals 3x squared, y equals, 3x squared minus 2x minus 1. Let's see what happens here. Should be going. I don't know what it's doing. And then once I am ready, I can go ahead and hit Insert Math. This is going to insert this equation into our Chrome and into our Google Slides. And this is going to work out where it's going to still be in like the Times New Roman and everything. It should work out pretty nicely here. Yeah, Seth, maybe I should close stuff like Zoom and all that stuff. It is closed out. I just don't know why it is still here. So I'm gonna get rid of it. Should have done that restart when I was waiting for you for so long. Okay, so here it's starting to create it as an image. And we'll go in here. the equation. This is usually a little faster. I probably have a little boy downstairs on Fortnite that's slowing down my internet as well. But as you can see, it's going to turn it into an image. You'll be able to resize this image. The other options you have down here is the graphing option. If this graph ever gets up here, still inserting, so I'm still waiting, Is it too late to restart, Seth? I'm going to try and add a graph editor here as well. So I'm going to activate my Desmos, and I'm going.
It works great. You're right.
What's that?
It works great.
It's great, right?
And we're not in a hurry. Like,
hey, no, I'm good. This will be.
Time.
I have my other stuff that's ready. So here we go. See it? All right, here we go. We're getting crazy now. It's going to start humming. Here we go. All right, so I just inserted the graph of the equation that I put in there. The cool thing is this graph can be resized. I can put it wherever I want. The other nice thing is, since it's an image, I can double tap on this and on the image, and I can resize it if I want. So if I want to make it so you can see a little bit more of the graph, more of the important pieces of it, I can do that. And then students can insert this wherever they want. I really like this option because the teachers can create different options for exams when they create those. They also can use just a blank graph whenever they want their students to graph something on paper. They can insert a blank graph. The piece I really like is where you can allow students to use Equatio, and you can give them an open-ended question. Like, I want you to create an equation and a graph of a line that has a positive slope and has a y-intercept of -3. That kind of opens up the doors a little bit, gives the students a little more choice, but it also allows so there's not as much cheating, maybe. There's the other options that you have. You could do an equation, a quadratic like I had, or a polynomial, where you can say you need to create an even polynomial with 2 zeros and a y-intercept that is positive. So giving students those options and a little freedom to create. Usually you don't always have the creativity options when you're talking about math. So that is Equatio in a nutshell. Make sure you add your browser.
We've got a quick question, or two quick ones. Is this something you recommend for elementary?
I do. If teachers are using it, the other nice thing about using Equatio is there are shapes. When you can use these shapes here. If I click on Insert Math Space, so I know in elementary there's a lot dealing with what's a four-sided shape, or what do you call a four-sided shape? Different kinds of triangles, and you can even do the equations. You can create tables. You can create coins. So as I pull up this Math Space, you can actually insert images of coins. So you could have the students just copy and paste as many coins as they want. So if you want them to make let's see, if I want to, should be able to insert, here's my shapes. So I can choose a triangle like this. I can also embed any files that I have or other images that I have, and then you can type in any kind. I thought there was another way. You can do a freehand drawing, which is helpful. So if you want to talk about, what is this angle called? I can even type up here if I want to just type in just text. So if I want to say, what is this angle called? And I can insert text like this, and I can move this text around. Oh, get out of there. Doggone it. Wrong button. Darn snag it. Here we go. Get out of there. See, I have too many things running again, Seth. I was doing all right. There we go. So this can go over here. And then what you can do is you can actually insert this right back into your Google Slides by clicking on this button up here, Insert. And then it'll end up becoming a large transparent background, but you have your shape here on the slide as well. So there is what I just created in MathSpace, which would be real handy if I would have done that on like a blank slide.
Yeah, I've got your slides up on my other computer and it just popped up. That's really cool. The other question is, I know it's free for educators, but does it cost students?
There is a cost for students. I think there is a possibility of getting, they get some free options, I believe, because I believe we have pushed it out to our student Chromebooks. So they would have some of these options down here. They just wouldn't have all the options. And you do, in order to get the free version for teachers, you have to apply for it. If you just Google free or Equasio free for teachers, then you just have to apply for it. And it takes like, maybe a day where they just have to validate that you're a teacher. So, and then you get all these extra fun little tools down here. Is that good on the questions? Set there. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go now to our next piece, which is where we can really start getting into the creativity pieces of using Google. So one important piece is the screenshot. There's so much you can do with math or really any kind of subject when you're using the screenshot, especially when students have it on a Chromebook. There'll be sometimes, especially when we had e-learning days, or if I was gone when I was in the classroom, then I would have the students go to XP Math and they would play a game. They could play as many times as they wanted, but they had to, before I started having them screenshots, they'd be like, oh yeah, I did that. And so, get their free points or whatever. Some of them hadn't done it. And so what I started having them do was doing a screenshot and then uploading it into a Google slide so I could see how they performed on those games. So that kind of gave them, a little more responsibility on their end. And it also let me know if they were doing the practice that I wanted them to do while I was gone. So depending on what kind of device you have a Mac, if you have a Windows, or if you have a Chromebook, these are the different tools you can use, the different key combinations that you can use to perform a screenshot. I love Willy Wonka over here. If someone lies about what they said, but you have the screenshots. I tell you what, that's a downer if they have the screenshots. So, all right. So here's something fun we can do. So if you use your device camera within G Suite, you can go to the insert menu. After that, you can choose image. You can select the camera icon, enable the camera. If you haven't, you can skip 4 if you've already enabled your camera. But if you have not, it'll ask you to allow your camera through slides or docs. You can do that. And finally, say cheese. So it is a pretty nice tool. If I go back into my slides and I click on the insert menu, or there's a shortcut, you just find that icon here. Also, you can click on the down arrow. You can select the camera. And from here, this is useful for many reasons. I mean, you could use an image of yourself if the students need to do it, or if the students just wanted to see you. Then you could also get, we've had students submit their work this way as well. You can have a student hold up an image in front of the camera, or if they have a problem with their homework, you do this. Just click on camera, and then there we go. There's a lovely, that's a great one. I'm going to redo it again. There we go. I like that one better. So when I hit insert, this will insert your image. Students can do this with their homework, where they can show their work, because I know a lot of math teachers really enjoy seeing students' work and seeing the process behind it. Don't want to just see an answer. But students can use their device camera. You can create this image. You can move it around. You can crop it, whatever you need to do as a student. Another fun way of using the device camera is through the Is This Right activity. So let's load this up. Dun, 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 dun. Maybe loading. Any questions, Seth, while it's loading?
Yeah, I'm back.
Really
Let's see. Is this something? Oh, wait, we already did that question. Oh, Holly found some prices.
Oh, did she? Okay, awesome.
$12 per person, districts $1.80 per student.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you go to district, the more you have, then the cheaper it gets. But we still, I want to say we still push it out to our students, and they were able to use it. That may be because I had like a premium access through Google Trainers. May have something to do with the teacher. So I'll have to check on that.
We also have your bit.ly so that people can join the slideshow. So it's bit.ly /Mathsmashing ETT. Make sure that it's capitalized. Let's see.
And that's a /, not a backslash. The same.
You're right.
All right, so here's an activity is this right? So start with a Google Slides template. Students need to have editing access. Whenever you share something, unless you share it with specific people, it's going to just default to viewer access. So you want to make sure that you change it to editing access. Have the students choose 1 or 2 problems from their homework they didn't understand. This is where they can use their device camera and they can post those problems on a slide. The cool thing is you have an idea of what your students struggled with the night before on their homework, or if you're gone, you have an idea of what they're struggling with. The way to really amp this up, though, is for the students to put in questions or images of their questions with their work, but then have their peers comment on each other's slides images to give feedback to their peers. So we really amp this up, and you have students, when they're analyzing their peers' work, you have them going through and trying to find the errors. And if they add a comment over to the side but do not give their answer, that's a wonderful way that you're also building some autonomy with the students and some responsibility, getting them to help their students out. Because another cool byproduct of this is you have some students giving comments to other students' work that normally may not mingle in the school setting. So when you open this up, you start getting a little more community in the classroom as well. First couple of times it's a little slow, and you have to kind of push the process for the students. But after about 3 or 4 times, they really start getting into it. And the students start posting their problems to get some help. Yes, as a teacher, you can look at that, but it's even more powerful when you can get your students to be helping out their classmates. So I have one example here. So if you click on this image right here, it'll open up another Google Slides. So I already have it open. Get out of here. I'm going to go here. And it was open. Here we go. So this actually already has some comments in it. I knew since we're doing this virtually, we probably wouldn't have Post-it notes just lying around as you're viewing. So I always like to put the instructions on the first piece here. So it says take a Post-it note or a piece of scrap paper, write down a question, solve it incorrectly. Choose a slide number, insert, use the insert menu, yada, yada, yada. Then they have to use the comment feature on 2 other slides. So I did it with teachers where they had to solve something incorrectly. But as you go through here, even on the left, I can see that there are 3 comments on slide 2, 2 comments on slide 3. So I already have some comments by some other teachers, aka classmates. And here they're trying to help one another out. So in this case, we had a problem where they were saying, what is, what's the perimeter? And when we do the perimeter, we have an incorrect answer. But we have some students that were making comments on the side that said, hey, don't forget that missing side measurements. You missed a side. You have 4 sides labeled, but there are 2 other sides not labeled. Unfortunately, they gave the answer. Dang it. I'll have to edit that one. Let's see if I can do it. No, can't edit it. But what you really want them to do is not give the answer like they did up here and say, oh, and then a lot of times the student's like, oh, gosh, dang it, I did. That's a silly error I can easily correct. And then they don't feel as bad when you're going through the answers the next day and you say that, well, the answer is 30 inches. And they're like, gosh, 26, I'm so stupid. That's just how a lot of kids reacted in my classes. But when you can give them little helpful hints and give them that opportunity to make a correction before it's graded, they're going to start building up a little bit more confidence in their skills. Here, if you can go down here, you can see different examples that we had as teachers were going through this. Lots of great comments. I know these are teachers, but you just have to kind of build on this for your students. And so a lot of times at the beginning of class, teachers will say, okay, what are questions on the homework? Well, what you can do is you can have a different slides for different days, and it already there's your questions already. And you can prep yourself to know those in advance. So lots of benefits using the is this right option for the teachers and for the students. So I love using Google Slides for that. So let's go here to the next one. I really want to refresh this, but I'm afraid what it's going to do. All right, let's try it out anyway. So a lot of things that I like to do in the math classroom actually deals around slides and doesn't deal so much with Google Docs as much as what some people may think. Yes, if you're creating an assessment or like a quiz or an exam, you may want to use Google Docs and use Equatio to write those equations, insert those graphs. But when we really want to get students working with the math, or as I like to say, playing with the math, then I think collaborative slides is the best way to totally fulfill that, what you're trying to do. So let's just get loaded here. Is it still sharing this link here, Seth? I'm sorry, sharing this image.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, all right, sorry. I guess I could have checked, but and I tell you what, I'm gonna have to call Comcast today. We're gonna have to get a piece of my mind.
Well, they're probably tired. They're probably tired from golfing this morning, waking up early, going golfing.
You know, I wasn't going to wake up to like 6:20, and my mind was too excited to go play golf. I started waking up at 5. It was terrible. So, but
it's a good reason to wake up, though.
It is. I know. I was pretty excited.
Some of our friends are in school right now.
Oh, yeah. I'm going back on Monday.
Well,
So look, I'm working on my last free day. How about that? I'm working for you.
We all appreciate it so much.
I bet. Okay, here we go. And get down here. That looks about right. So, all right, so we are going to get into our math smashing here. So I have a different assortment of websites that I really like to use. They're kind of my go-tos whenever I am trying to, improve or increase the productivity in my classroom, or just get the kids kind of working together. So I'm going to look here at number 12. It's about time to retire this computer, maybe. So, all right, here we go. Let's see if we can get this going. Dun, dun, dun. And loading. When you go back to your YouTube video, you might be able to make this about a 30-minute presentation. You'll be able to clip all the loading pieces out of it.
It's okay. Let's see. While it's loading,
tell us a good joke.
Here's something from a comment from George. Using thinking routines to explain your work will help students retain that information. It is a change for many students who just want to do the equation.
Yeah, that is a great point, because it's also a change for teachers. And, we really, as educators, really need to get on that. It's not even a bandwagon, but we really need to sway away from that traditional method of teaching where we only get just the answers and don't have our students explaining enough. Because then what happens once we get to those state assessments where students have to explain, we're not, they're struggling with those pieces because we're not giving them enough opportunities to do that in our own classroom. So
I know some teachers like Stephanie Modlin and some others started playing Would You Rather with their students in March when we all had to go home. So would you rather have the perimeter of your fence line be so many feet or the area of your fence line be so many feet? And so then they're thinking about which is better. Do they want a bigger yard, smaller yard? What are they doing? So,
sure. Yeah, I actually have a Would You Rather math option that's in here as well. So,
looking forward to it.
Yeah. Hopefully we get there, right? Okay, so this is just so another way we can use collaborative slides is where, excuse me, have the students choose 3 problems from their textbook, have them put their work on 3 different slides. They need to explain their work along with showing their procedures. Alice Keeler has a template here, so if you click on these, on the words here, that'll take you to a template that's really nice. The reason we have this is because if the students are only practicing an isolated skill, then why do that with slides? Well, you can do that with quizzes, you can do it with Kahoot, but the students are also not really having to think out loud. And so sometimes it's funny, students are like, well, I can't write down like my thinking process. I'm like, okay, so how did you just solve this problem? And they'll just go, oh, well, I added 3 to both sides and then I divided by 2 and I get x equals a 6. I'm like, can't you just write that exact thing you just told me? And so they're like thinking, like, I guess I could. And so sometimes what I'll do is I'll take my voice memos on my phone and have them explain. Like I'll just start recording that and have them explain, and then I'll show them where it shows the text thread from their voice to text. And I'm like, can't you just write what you just said right here? And so they're like, huh, I didn't think of it that way. So I love helping students realize that, yeah, they can actually write out their math. So here are some different websites that I really like to use. Estimation 180 is a lot of fun. WODB.ca is my favorite. It's which one doesn't belong. And it's a powerful website with different images, usually 4 images per, like in each quadrant. The students have to choose which one doesn't belong, and then they have to, but they have, the power's in the reasoning, and they have to explain the reasoning behind it. They can't just say top left and no explanation, top right, no explanation. They have to explain their answers. Graphing stories is really fun. We'll kind of look at that one. There's Would You Rather Math also. So here's a good one about which one doesn't belong. If you click on this image, it'll take you to the Google Slides, and I have a little template that you can do, but it was not this one. So that actually, we won't click on that. But what you do is you have your students look at the different quadrants here. So we have top left, top right, bottom left. What I'd like to do for the teachers that are joining in the chat, I want you to say whether top left, top right, bottom left, or bottom right, which one doesn't belong with the other 3. I want you to explain in the comments, if you would, please. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do this. I love seeing the reasoning from teachers. I love seeing the reasoning from students. In this case, the teachers are my students, so I hope you guys are adding in something here. So let's check out some of these. So let's see. Oh, here we go. Dun, dun, dun. All right.
So it takes a minute or so for the comments to come from YouTube.
All right, let's see if you can. I need the. Let me go back to the picture here. Could do this. I have to get real crazy. All right, we'll see if anybody adds in here.
All right, we got some answers coming in. Erica is saying bottom left. Thomas is saying bottom left. The others are equal ratios.
Okay.
Felicity is saying top left. Both non-composite numbers.
Sure. Non-composite, wow. Non-composite, also prime. Bottom left is the only ratio that doesn't equal 1 to 7. That's true. So I like Jill's. Explanation here too. Bottom left is the only ratio that doesn't equal 1 to 7. That's correct. Let's see if anybody has it in here yet. No. Bottom left, bottom left. All right. Well, nobody's put it in here yet, but I like to look at both the top left because it is the only ratio that cannot be found on a clock. You can find 214, 311, 749 on a clock. And so it's funny because that was actually a reasoning that a student had when I did this activity in class one time. They're like, well, the top left, because you can't even get that on a clock. I'm like, oh, yeah. That's great. And so some people are like, well, that doesn't have anything to do with what we're going over. Well, it does, because you're getting your kids to be thinking about math. So lots of options, lots of great ideas here with which one doesn't belong. There is a template. If you go to this template here, get rid of it. I created one for like upper level, like Algebra 1 or Algebra 2. I put some instructions here on the first slide. And then what you can do is you can use the, students can insert a graph using Desmos. They don't have to use the Equatio, they don't have to use the Equatio extension, but they can just go to desmos.com/calculator, and they can actually export an image. So in this case, I made this as an example. I just added the graph on the bottom left, and it's upside down. My reason was all the other problems are opening up. My graph is opening down, which means the A value is negative. So a lot of times what I'll do is when I want their explanation, I will have to tell them, explain in 2 sentences. All right. Explain in 2 sentences why your choice does not go with the other 3. The rest of this is just some more options, or some more where every student can choose one of these. I also made a box where they put their name in here. It's a great activity when you get the students some options, not just 4 options, but an option to create their own function. Because I'm going to learn a lot from kids that if all of these are parabolas, which means they all have an x squared, and if somebody's graph is a line, at first I was like, well, I can't accept that. It's a line. But then their explanation was like, well, all the other 3 are parabolas, which means they have an x to the 2nd power. A line just has x to the 1st power. I'm like, done. I mean, that's correct. So it's really difficult to argue with their reasoning, even though what I was personally looking for was another parabola. So that's a fun byproduct of giving some students some choice in their creativity and their designing. So let's go to our next one. And this is where I like to use graphing stories. So graphing stories is so much fun. It is an activity that we did in different classes. You can do it in different levels. So if you click on this image, it should take you to a Google Slides template. It's going to open up. And within this, let's see, I should have it here. Here we go. So I like using graphing stories because they show a YouTube video of something that's happening in real life, and then students have to graph the equation. So these have a YouTube video. They show the video in real time, and then you can slow it down and watch it in half speed. So you can do this. There is at graphingstories.com, there is a PDF that you can print off, and you can give students these different graphs. And the first time we did it, one of the first times I did it was the day before spring break in an 8th grade class. The teacher was like, okay, I need an activity that will keep them busy. It's the day before spring break. Do you have anything? So I said, well, let's try graphing stories. And so she was very hesitant. She's like, there's no way they'll be into this. Well, you kind of gave them a hook, and we had the students do a little bit of communicating back and forth with each other in order to do it. And then it ended up being about 15 to 20 minute video or activity. I think there's 125 kids that she had that day, and there were 3 that got it correct, like completely correct. And so she was like, well, all the other kids were like, okay, can we do another one? Can we do another one? They were just intrigued, and they loved the piece of, having a hook, trying to figure something out, making an adjustment, giving them the opportunity to make an adjustment, and then going through to the next piece. So I'm going to see if this video will play. And I apologize for my tools here today, Seth. They're not working so hot. Check your internet connection, of course. All right, let me go back over here. All right, here we go. So anyway, the first slide has the video. You can watch the video, and you can have the students you can see where they've drawn in here. but there was a graph. I don't know. There's the graph. Okay, so here's on slide 2. This is like an actual piece of paper where you can do this in person. I digitized it also by using Google Slides. So I just put this image in for each slide. The students had to put their name at the top. And then what they do is they can use this lovely little scribble option. It is right here. If you click the down arrow next to the line, and then at the bottom of that, there will be a scribble feature. So students can choose the scribble, and they can change the weight of their line. They can change like the color of their line as well. I don't know why this image is not popping up here. But if I go back up here to 4, you know, I did actually have this one set up before. I don't know what's happening here. I can see my images here. I don't know why it's not there. But if I want to choose the scribble, I can have the students, they can create their own graph. It'll end up looking somewhat like this. And then that's going to give them the option for the teacher to digitally see all of their answers as they are coming in. Yes, it also gives students the option to see their classmates' answers, but it's a wonderful way to get instant feedback from all of the kids. So let me see. All right, let's go here. Can you still, is it running, Seth, on your side or no? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, everything's working.
All right, just super slow, super slow. So I apologize, everybody. It is Friday, right?
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
We're all moving a little slower. It's okay.
Well, and I think it's only a high of 80 today, so I plan on spending a little more time outside later today as well. So anyway, so check out graphingstories.com. Is a wonderful option to give your students as well, because they will love it. They will love, give them watch the video in full speed, let them try to draw their graph that they're looking for. And then what we did was we let them watch it in half speed, make any corrections that they wanted to. And then I let them watch the slow one more time. And what they were able to do after that third time, they were actually able to turn and discuss with a neighbor and just compare each other's graphs and talk to each other. They were talking about math, and they were like, oh, my graph looks like this, or your graph looks like that. And so they were actually talking about math, which just never happens between two students unless they are forced to. There were kids that were, erasing theirs and changing it. And the teacher that I was co-teaching with, she goes, whoa, why are you so eager to change your answer? Maybe it's your neighbor that has the wrong answer. And so at the very end, it was awesome because a lot of the graphs, this is titled height of waist off the ground. A lot of graphs started at 0 and then went up and down, and they go down the slide. And so I said, well, if most of your graphs start at 0, I'm like, here's what the guy would look like. And I just sat on the ground, and they're like, oh, it was their height of their waist off the ground. Well, this guy's going to start at about 2 or 3 feet tall, right? Probably about 3 feet. So his waist is about 3 feet off the ground when he originally goes. So there's a lot of light bulb moments for the students when we went through there. Would You Rather Math is another wonderful one. If you click on this one, you can go into, and there's a template there as well. This is kind of like what you're talking about Stephanie Maudlin's mom is using, where if you'd rather have a pool that is 20 meters by 8 meters by 6 meters, or 1550 centimeters by 650 centimeters by 725 centimeters. And the students can do the math. They can explain over here in this box. So I love using collaborative slides, editing the master slide to give students that option to talk through their math. Let's see here. We've got a couple more things. Google Drawings. There's a couple options here. I'm just going to run out of time here. I love Open Middle. OpenMiddle.com is another wonderful tool. So if you click on this, this will take you to a Google Drawings template. for this activity where you can either have the student choose a scribble tool and they could draw in numbers in different places. I believe here there should be some numbers here on the outside. So the instructions are using the digits 0 to 9 at most one time each, fill in the boxes to create 3 equations that produce the same parabola. This is a tough question. In our, I know Algebra 2 teachers have given this to their Ohio ability classes, and some of the kids will get it and others won't because there's not like a specific definite answer. But you throw in this extra part where the digits 0 to 9 can only be used once. They can't use them multiple times to fill in these 6 spots. The other thing is a lot of students want to start with the first equation and work their way down and then work their way down. It doesn't have to be that way. So we discuss with our students also like, okay, not everything is linear, right? So many times with math, we think of everything being linear, but it doesn't have to be linear. So students can drag these over. They can put a 1 here in that spot. They could put a 7. I'm just throwing numbers here, but they do a little drag and drop. And you could also do this in slides, use that white space around the slide. I love using this white space out here around Google Drawings on left and right and in Google Slides because you're not just attached to that little area that is in the little checkered pieces here for drawings and then just your slide in Google Slides. I love using the white space around it. Once students get their answers, they can either compare with each other, they can submit it back to the teacher. So I like using drawings for this option. Open Middle is just a wonderful, wonderful tool. There's another activity that with drawings that, on your own, it's called That's a Fact. This is a great idea for number sense. And what happens is there's, this is a Google drawing also, and there's different numbers on the outside in the white space, and students bring it over. And so there'll be like a typical NFL stadium holds blank people. Typical school gym holds about blank people, and the students have to drag and drop the numbers into these blanks. And it's a great time to start talking about how many people fit in a certain space. So discussing with students, having them reason for their different numbers, why they chose them. It's a great conversation that sometimes we just don't give our kids. So this is a great activity that you can even just start your day with a like your bell ringer. Jamboard is new for G Suite. This is their Google's response to an online whiteboard. So if you go into your Drive, you can go under the New button, you go to the More, and you click on Jamboard. It has this little J looking icon on it. And from here, it's very similar to Google Slides, except it's a live whiteboard. It's very young. It's in its infancy, so there's not a whole lot of options with Jamboard. It's just very basic. But if you're looking for an online whiteboard, this is definitely a place to go. It's also going to be integrated with Google Meet soon. So I would recommend with teachers. I know the schools have been going back this week, and there's already some that are shutting back down due to a certain bug that's out there or whatever. And so this may be something that, as an educator, that you look through as well. A really cool option for Jamboard is recording your lessons with Screencastify, Loom, Snagit is another option. But you can use this whiteboard, you can draw on it, record your lessons, and then post that to your LMS. Just a lot of great options you can do with Jamboard if you know that you have it. So if you don't have it, if you are a G Suite school but you don't find it under that New and then More menu, you need to talk to your IT department because they probably have to turn it on. Let's see. We got, oh yeah, there's just an example there. I'm gonna move on here. We are running out of time. Hyperdocs and Hyperslides. Hopefully you guys watched Nadine Gilkison's session this week. She is just a Hyperdocs queen, and she just does such a tremendous job with creating activities, creating tutorials, templates, and sharing it. I mean, she shares everything. So she really kind of gave me the bug to start going into hyperdocs and hyperslides. There's a great hyperdoc that's in Google Docs here by Lindsay Blass. It's about diving into Desmos, so you can click on that and you can check that link. I created one with solving quadratics, and they're a lot of fun to create. The one thing is they are time consuming to make. Yeah, Felicity, I agree. Nadine, her session was pretty awesome. I watched that after a little bit later. So let me go here. Solving quadratics, hyperdoc. So I started creating some of these back when COVID, like when we were home from COVID and everything. And so you create, this is a packaged unit or a packaged topic that you give the kids, and you give them it's all work together. And some people are like, well, how many days do you give for the students to do the hyperdoc? Is it the only thing the students are working on at the same time? And that's up to the teacher, really. Like, I would give the students a hyperdoc at the beginning of the unit or beginning of the lesson. And I would start, there'd be some direct instruction involved also. I don't just give students their hyperdoc and say, okay, go. Because, and yeah, we want them to have some autonomy, and we want them to have some of their, some confidence in themselves and some responsibility to go through and learn some of the stuff on their own. But it's not the kids' jobs to learn all of this on their own. So we want to make sure that we're kind of guiding them through the correct way as well. This is what I did on solving quadratics. I added in the standards here at the beginning. I did use a template from Nadine, and then just kind of changed it to my liking. I used the engage, explore, explain, apply, and reflect options when I did this, because I love having the reflection option at the end. Students need to be able to apply what they're learning, but they also need to be able to reflect on what they've learned. And sometimes as teachers, that's a piece that we forget. So in this case, I just had, for the engage slide, students had a which one doesn't belong, and I gave them an area in here where they typed in their justifying their answer. So they checked these 4 graphs out, and then they had to write in their answer. That was kind of like their hook, getting them engaged in the topic that we're working on. For the explore piece, there were 3 different YouTube videos that I gave them. It was supposed to be a little bit of a review for different ways you can explore, different ways you can solve quadratics. And due to me shrinking my screen here, should be going left and right. Notice how I've used the white space around here on the left and the right. You can do that here in slides. That way you're not just hampered by just that space that you have there. So then I had an explain piece where the students can click on the image and it takes them outside to a flip grid. And then there's also the apply as we go down, and then another option. So when I create these, I just spend a lot of time doing it. I really enjoy it. I love creating, I love designing different activities like this. They can always be edited, but keep in mind, you can go to file, you can save as a copy for yourself, and then go ahead and edit it how you like. Like all the stuff I'm showing you today, please feel free to use some of the templates and possibly edit them for how you would like them. So you didn't get to spend as much time on hyperdocs as I wanted. Live to Teach said, are there any free options I'd recommend instead Jamboard? There is I think it's awapp.com. So awwapp.com. There's also, Google has another one. Oh gosh, you just have to YouTube, oh gosh, what was it? YouTube Google Whiteboard, but there's another free option for that too. Jamboard is nice because it just saves right there in your drive. You don't have to go outside of your drive, of your Google Drive to find it and to use it. So that's a big reason why I like using it. Let's see. Oh, that's wonderful. Good times today. You know what I'm doing after this, Seth? It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
All right.
Friday. Just kidding. I wouldn't recommend that.
We've got a few more sessions
All right. Yeah, I was gonna say, this is a great time to stop.
I think you did a great job.
Oh, goodness.
Everybody grab his slides, but just in case you didn't, we'll email those out to you, all the if you're registered, and we'll throw links and contact information and everything. Thank you so much, Kyle, for joining us. And we've got a couple more of our friends lined up this afternoon.
And also look for the bonus to student voices that are out there.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr.
Awesome.
Kline.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem.
Appreciate it. Yeah, you guys send me something on Twitter and yeah, check those links with good internet connection.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.